$2.5 billion additional tax on the Northwest Shelf gas project. Now that's going to it's going to be a disincentive for further investment, and at a time when, as West Australians, we could take advantage of current strong world demand and world prices for gas. The government has just put in another impost that is going to scare investors away, and we think that's a very bad thing.
And add to the cost per litre of gas.
Well, ultimately, we believe that it will put upward pressure on the cost of energy and on the cost of gas. And I mean, we're so concerned about it that we've actually announced earlier this week that we would be referring it to a Senate committee for inquiry, and we've actually reserved our position. Right now, we still have a majority in the Senate, so we've got a capacity to actually put some proper scrutiny over that particular measure.
I think governments for years, and I'm not going to say Liberal or Labor, I think for years Western Australia has basically carried a bit higher proportion of the burden than what necessarily our numbers would suggest. Again, we've got, if we operate as an entire country, our natural resources are everybody's natural resources, but it does irritate when you see one little.
It's very irritating, and I guess at the risk of being a bit political, before the last election, I mean, Kevin Rudd came to WA and he very much played to that parochial sort of sense that we've got here in Western Australia. He said too much tax goes from Western Australia to Canberra and not enough comes back. You know, how can you disagree with that?
He didn't say he was going to change it, he just
and
stated
the first thing he does is that he increases the tax by $2.5 billion. I guess so from a West Australian point of view, I mean, I find that very irritating, and so I share your view.
I was just going to say, I'm running out of time, but
no,
I mean,
talk about private health insurance.
That private health was another big loser in the budget. Can you tell us the implications to the changes of the Medicare levy charges?
Well, I mean, essentially, the government has decided. I mean, when we last got into government, the health system was totally out of whack. Only 30% of people were left with private health insurance, and that was putting a lot of pressure on the public hospital system. So the previous government introduced a range of policy measures to provide incentives for people to join health insurance. Now, one of those incentives was the Medicare levy surcharge thresholds, where people had to take out private health insurance to avoid paying additional tax. Government has decided to double that. The impact, not according to me, but according to the budget papers, is that 500,000 people are expected to leave private health insurance, and the government will save $300 million worth of spending. Now, $300 million, that represents a 30% rebate. That means that there's 70% of revenue from Australians who are prepared to take additional responsibility for their own healthcare needs that is going to leave the health system. So we're talking $1 billion that is no longer going to be available to our hospitals. Now, you know, what has Kevin Rudd said? Well, we're going to compensate the states who are going to bear the brunt of this with an additional $160 million. But there's still a lot of money missing. And, you know, no consultation with the states prior to introducing that particular initiative. And again, it's an initiative that we've said that we would oppose because we think it's bad public policy and it's going to have a bad impact on public hospitals.
Yeah.
Mathias, as Western Australians, what should we be doing as a reaction to this budget to make sure that we're getting looked after as best we can be? Just in a nutshell.
Well, make sure that you write to your local Member of Parliament and tell them all of the things that you're concerned about.
Is that as easy as that?
As easy as that, and make sure that your local Member of Parliament you know, represents your views in Canberra, and very eloquently, for sure.
Might I say, it's great to have a proud West Australian representing us in the Senate, and I think it's quite good for the balance as well, that with Labor having state and federal, I think it's nice that we've got the balance of power in the Senate being a little bit different, so that there's always going to be a conflict of opinions and views. Keep slugging for WA.
I will. Thank you so much.
Open my eyes up to a lot of things as well. Thank you for joining us.
It was great to be here.
Thanks, Senator, and whatever you can come up with fuel prices, we'll vote for it.
Yeah, exactly.
We need all the help we can get. Oh, we also need to go to a break. We'll be back in about 90 seconds, so go grab yourself a coffee. We're at the halfway mark. You're on Wake Up WA.